What's going on, tribe? It's your girl Massy. Welcome back to my channel. And today we are doing something really simple. Today we're going through tips on how to reset, how to build a routine when we are coming off the summer months. It was fun, but now we're entering the fall. And if you're like me, you're a working parent, you have kids, maybe you're going back to school, there's a lot of responsibility. And all of these responsibilities may be really, really stressful. So what steps do you need to take to start a new routine, to get back in the groove, to get back into your habits? That's all we're going to be doing today. Tip number one, this is basically your most important task. If you're trying to get into new habits, you have to schedule your priorities, including yourself. So we often talk about physical activity, wellness, because this is what I do and this is what you're following for. But everything that is important, that is a non-negotiable, is here. I schedule my time with Indy. So for example, I always drop off Indy and pick her up from school. So that's scheduled. We're scheduling her time and my time together. There's work schedule, filming days, study time, engagement time when I'm engaging with you guys. I even schedule time with my friends, literally, because I live a pretty hectic life. And if I'm not scheduled, I am just going to be a mess, just shooting empty arrows everywhere without a plan. This has been key. And I was not always like this. I was not always organized, okay? This happened after I had Indy and I had to juggle a lot, not only personal, but also work. And now I have a little human that I have to be present for. So this is number one, grab your schedule. I like to call this quadrants, right? And I think about what's non-negotiable and the most important things that you have to do, then what is important, but not really a priority, but you still have to get that done. And then on quadrant 3, important, but things that you have to delegate. And on the other realm of my schedule, I have like things that I really want to do. And if I don't do them, like my life is not going to derail. So if you're starting to organize yourself, whether it's in a journal, whether it's using a calendar that you're seeing every day, whether it's maybe having the calendar sometimes, you know, when I'm really overwhelmed, I have a whole calendar that I just post up on my wall and I see that every single day because I like to do a lot, but I also like balance, and scheduling yourself as a priority is important. So now that we talk about health and wellness, my time for myself and my workouts are scheduled in here. If you don't schedule yourself as a priority, you're not going to get it done because all these other responsibilities are going to take place and you are a priority. A healthy you, a balanced you, is a better you in all these different areas of your life. So step number one, schedule yourself as a priority and look at your life and schedule what the most important things are. Another thing that I find that has been really helpful for me is scheduling time for my workouts and my grounding and my meditation when I don't have things that require me to exert mental energy. So for example, whether it's a Zoom call, whether it's filming, whether it's having to be on calls that require me to be on the business side or on the behind the scenes sides that you guys don't see. So I tend to lose a lot of mental focus and then I am demotivated later on to hit a workout or to pour on myself because all I want to do is just rest and do nothing. So this is the most important step. If you guys are starting the September challenge with me, you guys have to schedule priorities. An hour and 15 minutes, that's all it requires. An hour and 15 minutes for you to get done everything that we are going to be doing together. And that's the most important step. Tip number 2, we're talking about setting routines. And as we come into September seems to be one of those pivotal months that if we do the right things, we are going to set ourselves to succeed. And if you've been following me for a very long time, you know that I not only exercise my body, but I exercise my brain. This is one of the muscles that I exercise the most. And they say ignorance is bliss, but education is power. And this video is being sponsored by one of my longest partnerships and support systems when it comes to learning, Audible. I've become extremely busy throughout the years, and instead of reading, I have relied a lot on listening. And this is how I hold myself accountable with learning. I listen to a lot of titles, and I wanted to introduce you to The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. I find that it gave me a lot of tools in order to break patterns and habits that I was forming that truly kept me in a place where I didn't want to be. And I kept repeating and repeating the same habits. And this title really, really made a difference for me. So to give you more info on this, it's going to teach you how habits are formed, how to break them, if they're good or bad, and the things that you need to do in order to replace those habits and create a new lifestyle, right? Because when habits are formed, we need to replace them with something new. So I found it really resourceful, and it is a title that I'm going to be listening to and going back to and doing it with the community. So I wanted to join me. And speaking of joining, I'm gonna pull my phone that has been poking in the back of my back, All right, so when you download the app, you're gonna be choosing a membership based on the titles that you're gonna be listening to. I happen to listen to a title a month, but the cool thing is that you can listen to podcasts here. You can even do sleep and meditation, right? You can use those resources, and you can even browse by genre, whether it's for your kids, fantasy, bios, memoirs, literature, fiction, romance, science fiction, self-development, arts and entertainment, even business and career. If you're trying to save money and you're not really good at saving money, right? You can find a title for everything. And the cool thing is that as new members, because I'm challenging you to join me and go through this transition of breaking new habits, you can try out Audible for 30 days for free. So you better go ahead and join me, and we're going to be listening to this title for the month. All right? Let's get it, team. On to the next tip. Tip number 3. I'm keen and I'm always drilling to you guys that meal prepping is necessary, especially when you have a child. I find myself making breakfast, lunch, and dinner for Indy and myself, and I have to come up with simple ideas that are like ready, okay? And making my life simple and prepping has made it extremely efficient in order for me to accomplish my goals, whether it is maintaining my physique, my health, putting on muscle, right? Because we're constantly talking about that. If you are not prepared with your meals, and think about it, the KISS method, keep it simple. When we take the time to prep our meals, we have direction. Now we're not falling trap into being hungry, not having our meals accessible. So I take about 2 days a week in which I meal prep. Usually it's on Sundays, and that's going to last me about 3 days. And then I do another shopping route because I really like fresh foods. And this is something that I'm trying to teach Indy, tradition. We don't eat out often, we don't consume unhealthy foods, and we don't consume fast foods. Maybe once in a while, a little Chick-fil-A here and there. But I find that having your meals prepped and having a plan is extremely important. And you don't have to overthink it. Let's say you spend most of the summer eating things that you are not supposed to eat. Keep it simple. Go back to your basics, okay? This is not about, I personally, when I am trying to help someone transitioning to a better lifestyle, all we do is clean out and phase out all of those unhealthy treats or unhealthy foods, whether it's fried, whether it's processed, and we bring in the whole foods, making recipes that are delicious, making recipes that are whole and that are balanced. So this is tip number 3. Make sure that you do not prepare to fail, that you actually have a rhythm and a system in which you can meal prep and make most of your meals and have them ready. especially for your kids if you're going back to school, and also for yourself. All right, team, so you're wondering why I have this folder right now, and something extremely important is that, of course, this is my job, and one of my jobs in this industry is knowing most of the things that are going on with health and wellness, strength and conditioning. But I do this myself, journaling, okay? Anytime that I'm trying to set a new goal on a new routine, I journal. So I've printed out this journal that we have accessible on masvida for everyone who is part of our community. And it's an 8-week journal in which you are setting your goals, and it takes you through every single week where you're journaling your progress. One thing that I find is that most people that are trying to get into a new fitness routine or changing their lifestyles to move more is that they don't know what they're doing. And if you think about any scientific approach to any studies, you have variables that you're comparing. If you don't have things that you can compare, then you're just going to feel like you're all over the place. So setting yourself with a plan, with a program that you can journal and put your entries with food and with movement and what's happening as you transition every single week. If you think about aesthetic changes, it's usually physiological changes that you cannot see through the mirror, or when you put yourself in front of a mirror, you cannot see those things. But one of the things that you will start to notice is how you feel internally. And these are the little wins that are going to help you get there. I set performance goals to stay motivated. For example, if I want to build more muscle, it requires more strength. It requires progressive overload. Making sure that I make notes of all of my training sessions, especially the first few weeks of your training, is important. And I do this myself. Anytime that I'm trying to change something, whether it's physiological or aesthetics, I always journal. Make sure that you find yourself a journal, or if you're part of our community, you're downloading this journal and you start logging in everything. This way, every single week you have something to go back on and something to adjust, because I believe small adjustments create sustainable approaches to lifestyle changes. So if you're not already doing this, I know that this becomes a little bit nagging, but this is something that you guys are going to learn to do, and it's going to be your best friend. You can refer back to weeks, you can see how you're progressing, you can record your weight, you can record your intensity levels, you can record your changes in habits of nutrition, and you can see how well you're doing throughout the week. Because I believe that when you are starting a new journey, what most people do is they do all these changes that are so drastic that you cannot sustain them for a long term. Now, if you set yourself sustainable goals that are realistic based on what's going on in your life, your level of understanding about whatever you're engaging in, you're going to be more successful. So this tip right here is extremely important amongst all the other tips that I'm going to give you on this video. Just do it. Remember, this works for me, and this is coming from someone who has a very taxing life. I'm constantly stressed, I'm working, I have my daughter, I have my personal life, and it requires for me to be scheduled with my meals, with my programming, with my sleep, with all these different habits, including feeding my brain. All right, team, on to the next tip. I think I'm saving one of the most important things for last, and I'm pretty sure that you hear this a lot, but I don't think most people realize how important sleep is. This is where your brain and your body are doing the hard work. And if you are sleep deprived, based on science, you are at risk at over 60 different illnesses and diseases. We're talking about memory loss, trouble with concentrating and thinking, high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, low sex drive, accidents, because you are not going to be able to function. So when you're setting a new routine and a new goal and you want a new path, 8 hours of non-negotiable sleep are necessary. This is like the bulk of everything. When you are trying to change your lifestyle, when you are trying to set new routines, this is foundational, and it's one of the things that you really have to have in check in order to function and optimize yourself as a human. And I am going to tell you guys to research this, to really look for ways to improve your sleep. I can recommend another title, okay, on a book, but we're gonna save this for next month, all right? So this is one of the most important things that you guys really need to set in your schedule, your sleep, because this is, even from a physical standpoint, how you're going to be able to lose weight, to maintain your hormones in check, to not have your hormones that control your appetite out of whack, right? So we see a lot of weight gain, we see a lot of dysfunction in the body when your sleep patterns are off and you're deprived. So I hope that you're able to integrate all these different tools that I've given you today in order to set yourself for success on this new month. All right, team, so that's it. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear if you already are implementing some of these tips that I've given you, and anything that you have question-wise or anything that you want to add, put them in the comment section below, and I'll see you on another video. I love you, my tribe. See you next week.